Okay, hi everybody. I want to talk this morning about this article by Muriel Newman, which was very, very good. And it's talking about obviously Maori, and it says mana or money, and it's recent, so it's 28th of April. When Meridian Energy was seeking resource consent for a West Coast hydro dam proposal in 2010, local Maori strenuously objected, claiming that their mana was inextricably linked to their river and could be damaged. I've always had a really big issue with this because this is simply hocus pocus. It's Maori religion, and religion and state, church and state should be separated. None of us should have religion rammed down our throats, especially when it comes to governmental issues, local council, national, central government. So the whole system needs to be overhauled so that religion is kept out of decisions like this completely. In other words, when they say their mana was inextricably linked to their river and could be damaged, that is a religious belief and should not be taken seriously by anybody. After receiving financial payment from the company, however, the Ngāi Tahu subtribe changed its mind and publicly supported the scheme. In other words, corruption. Meridian declined to say how much they paid the iwi, but confirmed it was to offset the impact of the project on the Mori, that's the life force of the river. So what you have here is manipulation, you have corruption, you have extortion, that if you want to go ahead, you have to pay something to Maori, and Mori, that's the life force, is just simply another religious belief. So they're pulling out, it's an absolute wonderful scheme for iwi and Maori activists because it's a great big racket, and of course, us being white and woke, we just bow down to it all and shell out money. And all we do when we shell out is we reinforce what's going on and we fuel it. We make it worse, much worse. Then she says, fast forward to November 2023, and Meridian, along with Genesis Energy, reported to have spent more than $180 million to smooth the path of reconstructing their Waitaki hydro scheme. This includes payments to 3 Ngāi Tahu hapu, the Department of Conservation, and others in exchange for supporting the application. Again, that is just absolute extortion. That's all it is. And why it's been allowed to go on is absolutely beyond me, and why Luxon and the national government is not doing anything about this, and they have corruption absolutely right under their noses, and they do nothing about it. DOC has confirmed it received $2.3 million, so it appears the lion's share of the $180 million has gone to Ngāi Tahu's coffers to satisfy their concerns. So, hundreds of millions of dollars in cultural gratuities is clearly not enough for Ngāi Tahu. They now want control of the Waitaki River itself. So what we're seeing here is that, iwi and Māori and tribal groups, the retribalists, they're after everything and they're going to go for it, aren't they? And they're using this Maori religion, corruption, extortion, and somehow it's not seen as a criminal offence. Running over 200 kilometres from the Southern Alps to the ocean near Oamaru, with the fourth largest flow of New Zealand rivers, it is a vital resource that supplies 3 hydroelectric dams and 5 other power stations, along with a myriad of other water users. Well, you can see why they want that river, because if they get the river, they get to control the hydroelectric dams, which means they get to control electricity, which means they get to control money. Because all of us are using electricity, everybody, most people, 99.9999%. And that's the plan. So they get the other power stations if they get the river, and eventually they can manipulate the situation to get to actually own the hydroelectric dams. When Ngaitahu's proposal to co-govern the river was submitted to the two council authorities, controlling authorities, the Otago Regional Council voted 8-4 in favour of investigating the scheme. Can you believe that? While the Canterbury Regional supported it 13-3, with two Ngaitahu appointed councillors voting in favour in spite of clear conflict of interest. And councils have been infiltrated by woke activist bureaucrats, and people being voted on are being groomed, and inside councils being groomed and manipulated and bullied. And I've seen some of these meetings where you have, 50 Maori sitting in the public gallery when voting is going on, and it's very intimidating. And they're doing hakas, and they're seeing who is voting which way and so forth. So we've got corruption running at high levels in our country. When Labor passed their controversial legislation in 2022, giving Ngaitahu 2 permanent seats on the Canterbury Regional Council, opposition centred on concerns that their presence would bias the council in favour of iwi initiatives. Of course, that's going to happen. Agreeing to consider a co-government proposal for a $2 billion private business development corporation that's making hundreds of millions of dollars in extortionate payoffs from water users, and is a major water user itself, without consultation with the community, confirms those concerns. In other words, there's multiple layers of corruption here. The risks associated with iwi controlling the river were clearly on display in 2020 when the Auckland Council attempted to increase its water take from the Waikato River following a prolonged drought. Did you know that the Maori tribal groups in the Waikato actually now own the river, and they have an arrangement with the Auckland City Council to supply water to the Auckland City Council, which whoever set that up was absolutely crazy, because that means that iwi groups now can hold the whole of Auckland to ransom with the water. And everybody needs water just like they need electricity. In response, the co-governed Waikato River Authority, co-chaired by Tipa Mahuta, the sister of former Labour Minister Nania Mahuta, see, they're all in on it, demanded 10 cents a litre in payment for the water, or $20 million a day. While the controlling iwi saw this as their right, others saw it as extortion, and the offer was rejected by the Mayor Phil Goff. See how it works? A board of inquiry set up to resolve the standoff revealed that it wasn't concerned with increasing water take would harm the river that caused the iwi Control Authority to attempt to block the application, but cultural metaphysical considerations. Look at that. Cultural and metaphysical considerations, in other words, more Maori religion, namely, iwi believed that applicants hadn't been respectful enough. I couldn't make this up. Because they hadn't been respectful enough, whatever that means, cultural and metaphysical considerations, they were going to have to pay $20 million a day to Auckland. That's a hijack, isn't it? In the end, consent was granted in return for a $2 million a year payment to the authority, along with requirements to develop formal lines of ongoing consultation with iwi. What these cases show is that once iwi manoeuvre themselves into positions of power, their demands are never satisfied. I actually think that Muriel hasn't been strong enough there, because once they get into positions of power, what's happening here, if you join all the dots everywhere around the country, the taking of the seabed and the foreshore, of the Maorification of New Zealand, changing the country name, Maori road signs, shoving of Te Reo down everybody's throats. You join all the dots. The education system from kindergarten right up to university has been hijacked. You join all the dots, and it's obvious to see that we're all being brainwashed, and there is a coup going on here. Because the ultimate goal of this is to have New Zealand completely controlled by Maori, and they need all non-Maori to keep working so that we can create taxes so they can spend it. In other words, we're reverting back to 1840 New Zealand, where there were slaves and bosses. And there's no doubt about it that iwi, these retribalists, they want us to be their slaves, and they want to be controlling the whole of the country. That's where this is going. And they don't do it. They don't do it with, one great big step and it's all over. They've been working at this since 1975. They do it by gradation, little by little. It's been a similar story with Lake Taupo. Tūwhare Toa gained title to the lake bed under a treaty settlement, but once they were given the right to change commercial operators, their demands to charge commercial operators, their demands escalated. There you go again. Once they get into power, they absolutely milk it to get everything they can from it. A scientific survey of the bed of the crater lake had to be called off because exorbitant charges were being demanded. And after 15 years of the Ironman triathlon being hosted in Taupo, the iwi threatened to block the swimming leg of the race unless they received a levy for each competitor using the lake. Now, this goes right back to 1840, and I've been doing extensive reading. And one of the issues that the British government said they had with Maori in the early settlement period, this is after the signing of the treaty on the 6th of February 1840, was that Maori were hiking up prices of land. They were selling land, couldn't sell enough of it, but they were hiking up the price, asking exorbitant amount of money for the land because they knew that the British needed it and wanted it. So history is just repeating itself here. Nothing's changed. Then there was a confidential deal reported to be worth several $1 million a year, whereby the iwi charges Mighty River Power for storing their hydro scheme water in the lake. So the water's just sitting in the lake, and Mighty River Power is being charged for storing it in the lake. Nowadays, all commercial operators using Lake Taupo are required to pay 7% of their turnover to iwi. The iwi also expect the organisers of events planned in the area to pay them a generous cultural koha. This is just what we're doing here is we've got parallel systems of government operating. You pay your taxes, but then you start to use these resources and you come up with another tax, another government. It's called the Maori government, and you pay them money. So we're all going to be shelling out, not just for taxes, but for paying Maori taxes as well. Maori charges on everything. But it's not only around lakes and rivers that iwi are muscling in. In the far north, the flow-on effect of the unlawful actions of iwi are now threatening the mussel farming industry. So we've got power generation issues, we've got Lake Taupo issues, and now we've got in Northland mussel farming issues. And these are only just a few. If the truth be known, they're everywhere. They're happening all around the country. We just don't know about them. And Muriel, Newman, and Frank have done an incredible job bringing us at least some of the stories accurately and very concisely and very amazingly. But where else is this going on? So tomorrow, that's enough for today, but tomorrow I'll finish this, the rest of this email, this report from Muriel Newman, and it'll be part 2. So have a good day.